My lords, ladies and gentlemen, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, everybody. And it gives me enormous pleasure to welcome you all here to Bewley. Now, I ought to explain that the man who should be standing here is the Chief Executive of the museum, John Merton, who many of you know, doing a startlingly good job here at Bewley. Sadly, he is not very well. He's actually been in hospital, but he's going to be escaping hospital fairly shortly, and I'm certain that he'll be back behind the desk in the fastest possible time. So I am but a pale imitation of John Merton. My name is Christopher. I'm the chairman of the trustees, and it gives me a huge pleasure, as I say, to welcome you here tonight. I also really would like to pay a particular thank you to Gail Stewart Bye. I don't know whether we can find Gail here. Yes, we can. Yes. Gail is a senior curator, and it has been Gail's responsibility to put this exhibition together. And later on this evening, I'll be asking you to pop downstairs and have a look around it. An amazing futuristic view of what could be happening for all of us. But putting together an exhibition of this sort is not easy. It requires great skill and determination, and Gail has delivered it on time. And Gail, I personally thank you very much for what you've done, and we're going to enjoy seeing the fruits of your work. So thank you for that. Don't get carried away, Gail. That's it. That's it. Obviously, everything that happens here is very much due to the improvisation and the dedication of Lord Montague, and I'm very pleased to hand over the microphone to Lord Montague now.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. This exhibition combines the opportunity to learn about how the future of the car was imagined in the past, but combined with the sheer entertainment value of seeing what was predicted. As some of you know, one of the first people to do this seriously was my grandfather, who, through the pages of the Car Illustrated magazine, which he edited, wrote a lot about how he saw the future of motoring, and indeed he was an active campaigner for change. And in many respects, he got it right. For example, in 1907, he wrote that before long, we shall have alternative hydrocarbons to work with, but he warned that they must be as cheap and as convenient to use as our old friend petroleum spirit. On electricity for car use, he proposed that a new generation of steam-powered corn mills should be fitted with dynamos and accumulators to provide a charging system for electric cars. And he went on to say that with the help of such stations, as he termed them, electric vehicles could be used for cross-country travelling. So, you know, that sense that electric cars were not just for short inner-city journeys. In other respects, his visions for the future were perhaps not quite so accurate. In the Car Illustrated of June 1911, there was a feature titled On the Road in 1961. So he was looking 50 years ahead, and that happens to be the year of my birth. And in it, Ferdinand Fitzy, who was one of the magazine's resident artists, illustrated a car of the future, a car of 1961, which has always really captivated my imagination. Now, looking at that illustration, I estimate that the car would be about 50 feet long, about 13 foot high. Its rear wheels would have a diameter of about 10 foot, and the four front wheels were only a little bit smaller. The illustration shows about 6 people in the car, but I would estimate that actually there would be room for about 30 passengers. And the bodywork, which looks like a mixture of an aeroplane, an extended stagecoach, and a sea creature, bears the registration number XL1301 painted in large letters across the side as you would on an aircraft. So that wasn't perhaps quite right, but nevertheless a wonderful looking thing. And the caption underneath this illustration says, and presumably these are my grandfather's words, he says, "All roads will certainly be dustless by 1961. The chances of punctures to tyres will probably be nil, for the perfect non-puncturable yet resilient tyre will have arrived, and the explosive engine may be combined with some turbine auxiliary. Carriages, larger, swifter, and infinitely more comfortable, will be in use, and our roads will be wider, straighter, and smoother." Well, with the number of potholes we're currently having to dodge, I fear that the peak era of smooth driving may already have passed us. However, we do have to continue looking to the future. And that's not just imagining the thrill of travelling more swiftly or more comfortably, as my grandfather termed it, but also, as we would term it today, more sustainably. And with this in mind, I hope that this exhibition will be a prelude to a permanent area in the National Motor Museum addressing the future of motoring, how vehicles will be powered, how the road system capacity will be managed, and whether indeed the vehicles we travel in will be manually controlled or simply automatic. So while you ponder that, I'm now very pleased to introduce the main sponsor of the Motopia exhibition, Ben Taylor, who is Head of Brand Marketing and Insights at Select Car Leasing. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Select Car Leasing, I'd firstly like to take a moment to thank a few people for this opportunity to sponsor the Motopia exhibition for the next 12 months in such a unique and beautiful location as this. It's an honour as the UK's largest and most trusted car leasing company, you saw what I did there, to be involved with both Bewley and the National Motor Museum, and we'd like to thank you both for this opportunity. There's also another person I'd like to thank, and that's David Lewis, without whom this would never have happened. So in particular, thank you, David. You may be wondering who Select are. We're a relatively new entrant in the automotive world, but have grown into a significant e-commerce automotive brand over the past 2 decades. We are UK owned and operated, headquartered in Reading. Yes, we are the front shirt sponsor for Reading, and we have taken over the Majeski Stadium as well, and we're really sorry for all of that. And we have 9 further offices around the UK. Size-wise, we had circa 12 million visits from approximately 6.5 million people to our website last year. By way of comparison, in 2016, we had over 1 million visitors who came to our site. So you can see the size of the growth. It's been a truly amazing growth story. In 2021, we were ranked as the 13th fastest organically growing company in the UK, maybe unlucky for some. All of this being achieved without any external investment. We're a business that is challenging the status quo of the automotive industry with different ways to finance and thus drive vehicles. We'd like to see ourselves as democratizing the opportunity to get a brand new car, preferably an electric car, which will not only help the UK's move to electric mobility, but also in turn will significantly help the environment too. And why did we sponsor this fantastic exhibition? Simply put, and similar to our sponsorship of the British Motor Show in 2021, we love vehicles, and we want more people to understand and enjoy the whole culture of automotive mobility. We feel it is also important to highlight to as many people as possible that with the electrification revolution that is happening, we are at a significant juncture in the world of automotive, one that will rival what happened 120 years ago, that being the rise of the internal combustion engine. And in terms of the impact on the environment, This turning point will likely rival the Industrial Revolution, but this time, of course, we hope in a more positive way. In her coronation concert speech, Stella McCartney very eloquently said, "We need to leave a safe and sustainable world for all generations to come." Hopefully, in 130 years' time, our future generations will be able to look back at our vision and be reassured that we did our best to leave them with a truly safe and sustainable world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed for that, Ben. I'm now going to introduce Ben Swan to you all. Now, Ben, like all of my colleagues here at the museum, plays a pivotal role in what happens here. Ben is head of learning, and I'm sure that those of you who perhaps are less familiar with the museum world may not know that all museums are under duress, and rightly so, to make certain that we attract about 10% of our visitors are youngsters, and they're on some kind of exercise, some kind of learning program, and Ben is in charge of that and is doing an excellent job. But this evening, he won't be trying to get you to sign up to a learning program. He is here this evening just to tell us a little bit more about the Motopia exhibition. Ben, the floor is yours.
I'm Ben Swan. I'm head of learning here at the National Motor Museum. And quite often I'm asked the same question about this exhibition, which is, what is Motopia? I just don't get it. What does it mean? And to give you the answer, I'm going to have to tell you a story. It's not going to be a very long story, and hopefully it's going to be an entertaining story. So I'm very lucky to be speaking to you today because I've only been working for the National Motor Museum for about 18 months. And in that 18 months, I've been put to hard labour researching the future of motoring. And I have done a deep dive into this, trust me. I have gone deep to find what the future of motoring could be. And there's a lot of it. There's quite a lot out there. And each one brings with it a very vocal and almost partisan audience. Football, trust me, has nothing on the tribes within motoring. And so when it came to deciding which part of the future that we should focus on for this new exhibition, the museum team were faced with something of a dilemma. The thing about the future is it's really hard to predict. So the curators went off to have a rethink, and when they looked at their collections, they saw that the future was already there, only it was in the past. You still with me? Humans needed to solve the problem of how to remove the horse from the cart. This is what starts it all. How do you remove that horse? Now, if you look around you at our permanent collection, it answers that question pretty clearly. Just look around and you'll see how to remove a horse. Motopia is about what you don't see. It's the new laws, the road layouts, the different forms of propulsion, the eye-catching shapes, the alternatives, the outcasts, the unresolved. Motopia is quite simply rediscovering all the wonderful, innovative, exciting, often bonkers ways in which humanity has thought about where the future of transportation might lie. Quite often, every generation dreams the same dream. I bet if I asked you now what the future of motoring is, you'd probably all say, I want a flying car. And if you look at dreams of the future, they all involve a flying car, or high-rise living, or industry-free towns. This opens up the next question. Are we already living in Motopia? We wanted to ask questions of our audience to get them to interpret the stories they see it. After all, this is a story about you and your world. To further get the audience questioning, the learning team, of which I am a part of, got together with the Shell Heritage Art Collection and engaged an artist and educator called Tom Hall, who is here today. And Tom was asked to produce 5 sculptures relating to the posters produced by Shell in the 20th century and reinterpret them for the Motopia themes. Each piece was produced at the Spudworks Gallery in Sway, a wonderful place. If you've never been, I recommend you go there. It is extraordinary. Alongside a variety of artists and community groups who each helped to inspire Tom along the way. These you can now see sitting on our bus, which is over in the corner by the Shell garage, going on their separate journeys, as any people might do sitting on a bus. And that's all I'm going to tell you about them. And that's all you need to know. So Motopia then is about any point in time. It's about the future. It's about the past. The rest of it, ladies and gentlemen, is up to you.
That concludes the formal part of this evening. My task now gets really tough. I've got to try to persuade you, ladies and gentlemen, to go down those steps and be directed to where the exhibition is. So take yourself back to your school days. It's basically trying to get you to do something that actually at the present moment you don't feel like doing. So please do go down the steps and enjoy the exhibition. Lord Montague and I and Ben will of course be joining you there in just a moment. Thank you all very much.
Brilliant. I think this is the most wonderful exhibition. I think the museum's done a brilliant job in bringing together so many things that looked 50, 60 years ago completely bonkers, but which we're doing today and which is just great to see. I think it's fabulous.
It was really cool to see, I really liked it. All of the cars, like the little Sinclair thing and like the, I don't know, big old American cars. It's like the kind of thing that the Back to the Future bullies would drive.
I loved looking at the old American cars and just seeing how large it was and how much like it was, how interesting it was to see what the style of the car compared to the thoughts of the time and how they've evolved. And also looking at some of the sort of the more personal vehicles, particularly the Sinclair C5, which I recognised from when I was young, and seeing how that's evolved and shaped transport today. I think that was really interesting.
We've just had a look around. It's absolutely fantastic. It's fascinating. Personally, I love all the conceptual art. That's my thing. Great looking at this stuff, and it's fantastic to be able to use the past, as they say, to show what the future might be.
Yeah. Well, you've got to understand, at 80 years old, this wasn't the future, this was my past. And I remember the concepts that were happening at those days, and certainly when you had the Eagle comic and Dan Dare, which was actually showed what the future would look like, mainly from aviation point of view. But it's surprising, isn't it? This concept of moving forward and getting, shall we say, faster and more streamlined. As my son said, this Art Deco view of what these things look like was fantastic.
It's kind of a shame it's not bigger, because everything here is influential to what we started with, where we were in the middle and where we are now. Like the Volkswagen there, that was like 15, that's 7 or 8, 9 years old, and that is so space age. But is it space age? It's that contradiction. But if the whole ground floor was this, it would be not too much, but very, very good. Very good research, good pictures. Yeah, fabulous.
This has been an absolutely fantastic exhibition, Motopia. It's all about basically the future from all of our different pasts, and that's the really exciting thing. So wherever you are in time, your idea of the future is going to be very different to the reality, but also everybody else's idea, either before you or after you. And this exhibition really does kind of dive into that, and it's been wonderful to see all these brilliant ideas and some really rather crazy ones as well.